You are watching the National News Desk, America's News Now.
He is entitled to his nominations, but he's not entitled to a confirmation of literally any nominee. And so, as I've talked to colleagues, there are some real concerns.
Growing concern in the Senate over Trump's controversial pick for Attorney General. What members of both parties are saying about the now former Congressman Matt Gaetz. Then Tropical Storm Sara has officially formed in the Caribbean, but predictions on its path, they are changing. So is Florida still in its sights? And what we're learning about the debilitating and deadly disease health officials warn is surging worldwide. This is the National News Desk, America's News Now. I'm Amira David. In the last hour, President-elect Donald Trump making another pivotal nomination, choosing Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to be his new Health and Human Services Secretary, a vaccine skeptic who's called for changing the policy on fluoride in water. Kennedy becomes just the latest controversial pick as Trump rounds out an unprecedented wild card cabinet. RFK's nomination comes a day after Trump made a splash by nominating Congressman Matt Gaetz as his Attorney General. National correspondent Matt Galka joining us now with more on why even some Republicans are questioning the choices.
Donald Trump turning some heads with his picks for key cabinet positions. Fox News host Pete Hegseth tapped for the Defense Department, and former Democrat turned MAGA star Tulsi Gabbard was picked to head up national intelligence.
Tulsi is an illustration of peace through strength with an understanding, a populist view.
He's challenging the norms, and he's saying, in effect, if you don't like this is the way it's going to be.
But perhaps the most controversial pick is now former Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz as Trump's Attorney General.
Elections have consequences. He chose Matt Gaetz. Matt will come before the committee, and he will be asked hard questions.
Gaetz himself was investigated by the Justice Department he could soon be in charge of as they looked into allegations of a sexual relationship between Gaetz and a 17-year-old girl. No charges were filed. Gaetz was also the subject of a House ethics investigation over the allegations while he led the charge on ousting former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy.
I would hope there wouldn't be another Matt Gaetz in the Republican Party. I mean, paying underage women, the other people who are involved in that are in jail.
And it's now possible Gaetz's controversies could make it an uphill battle for him in the Senate's confirmation process.
I don't know Mr. Gaetz from Adam. So I've read about press reports and that sort of thing, but I'd rather get the information myself.
I can name between 5 and 10 Republicans who are seriously considering voting against this nomination and insisting that there be a vote.
The findings of Gaetz's ethics investigation were potentially set to be released soon. His resignation stops the inquiry. Democrats have already called for the ethics report on Gaetz to be released, and there's speculation it could be leaked before the nomination process. Amira?
Yeah, Matt, as he just mentioned right there, the bipartisan House Ethics Committee was set to formally vote on releasing their findings tomorrow. We are going to see if they will still move forward, even though Matt Gaetz has resigned as of last night. And there is precedent on Capitol Hill to make a report public anyhow, at least on the Senate side. In 2011, Nevada Senator John Ensign resigned before an ethics report was released on an alleged affair, but the Senate Ethics Committee released the details anyway. Senate Judiciary Chairman Dick Durbin is now calling on the Ethics Committee to preserve the information they have gathered.
The sequence and timing of Mr. Gaetz' resignation from the House raises serious questions about the contents of the House Ethics Committee report. We cannot allow this valuable information from a bipartisan investigation to be hidden from the American people.
And tonight, the FBI has released new footage of the Oregon ballot box arson that happened last month. You can see it right here. The driver pulls up in a dark Volvo S60 and places something in the box right before it explodes. The suspect is described as a 30 to 40-year-old white male with thinning hair. The FBI is offering a reward for information that helps identify the suspect connected to this crime.
This case represents really an attack on the two fundamental ideals that the FBI protects, which is protecting the American people and upholding the Constitution.
Elected officials, politicians, military officers, and other public figures in Massachusetts are bracing for an embarrassing moment. These people, all clients of high-end brothels operating in state, will have their names released in the coming weeks. The Massachusetts Supreme Court ruled today 28 defendants accused of paying for sex have protection, but only until some hearings early next year. The operators of the brothels also have clients in Virginia. No ruling has been made yet on whether those identities will be made public or not. Ohio's newly passed bathroom bill is headed to Governor Mike DeWine's desk for his signature. Governor DeWine says he is inclined to sign that bill into law, but wants a full legal review. The bill, which passed the state Senate yesterday 24-7 along party lines, restricts bathroom use in K-12 public schools as well as colleges to one's birth gender. 10 other states have similar laws in effect. Idaho's bathroom law is currently on hold with lawsuits pending. Proponents say it's about safety and security, while opponents urge the governor not to sign it.
It targets and harasses gender diverse students, parents, and staff, forcibly outs and endangers trans, non-binary, and two-spirit students, ostracizes disabled students who need assistance to use the bathroom, others intersex students, and violates Title IX with blatant unlawful discrimination.
Meanwhile, in Oklahoma, the Education Department and the Office for Civil Rights reached an agreement with Owasso Public Schools, stating the school district violated Title IX protections by failing to respond to sexual harassment reports. Owasso Public Schools made national news in February when a transgender student, Nex Benedict, died in the hospital days after a fight in a school bathroom. The Office for Civil Rights named multiple times the district ignored students' rights over the last 3 years. And there have now been at least 104 E. coli cases in an outbreak linked to McDonald's Quarter Pounder hamburgers. The CDC said slivered onions were probably the culprit there, but officials say the E. coli found in those onions is quite a different strain. Still, the FDA does not believe there's a continued risk, and the burgers are back on menus with ingredients from an alternative supplier. And tonight, as calls grow louder for the Menendez brothers to be released from prison, a new LA County District Attorney could stall the brothers' chance. Nathan Hochman won last week's election for DA against the current DA, George Gascon. Gascon, weeks earlier, announced his recommendation that the brothers, convicted of murdering their parents back in 1989, be resentenced and eligible for parole immediately. But in a break from Gascon, Hochman has said he has a lot of evidence to review before showing any kind of support, and has even questioned the motivation behind Gascon's decision. An LSU student is in custody after posting on X that he was going to kill Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry. That's according to prosecutors. An arrest affidavit says 21-year-old Jackson Pemberton told police he was joking but was upset that Landry helped bring a live tiger onto the field before a football game. Pemberton is charged with threatening a public official. And tonight we are following a unique battle brewing in the city of Seattle. A historic property designated a Seattle landmark offering affordable housing is right now on the chopping block at a time when a major housing shortage persists and families are in desperate need. The National News Desk's Denise Whitaker taking a look at why one group is pointing the finger at city officials for failing to crack down on the problem they say is leading to the building's demise.
Victorian Row in Seattle's Little Saigon neighborhood offers low-income families apartments as large as 3 bedrooms, well below market rate.
People are moving out of the building because it's dangerous in the neighborhood and in the adjacent park.
Those dangers right outside the front door. People using drugs on the sidewalk, sometimes in Hoa-Mai Park, often also filled with human waste, illegal activity, and more.
I think it's right now we need to clean up for the crook right here.
Dong Nguyen opened his restaurant here 33 years ago and somehow has survived.
But around here, a lot of small business, they close it because they don't want to deal with this problem anymore.
Nguyen Kai Kelly and others have been hounding the city for change for at least 5 years, they tell me. Kelly says this affordable housing is now in jeopardy without real, lasting change.
We're not able to fill those vacancies because it's dangerous in the community and in the adjacent park.
I took all of this to the mayor's office today, which tells me they are making a coordinated effort to address the problems. With Seattle police making a significant number of arrests at Ho'omai Park for illegal firearms, drugs, and outstanding warrants in recent weeks. Question is, will it last and work in time?
The worst case scenario is we default on our loan and we throw the keys on the table for someone else to take on the property.
And if you did throw in the keys, then wouldn't that only exacerbate the problem?
100%. 100%. That's the last resort.
And coming up, on the topic of affordable housing, buying a house out of reach for a lot of Americans. How much you need to make now to afford a new home. Then, what we've just learned about the safety of a popular IUD used by millions of people as our team continues to investigate. And later, a 17-year-old became the youngest person to pass the California bar exam. We'll have her story after the break. Newly developed Tropical Storm Sara, bringing life-threatening and potentially catastrophic flash flooding and mudslides to Honduras through the weekend. 30 inches of rain possible over the next few days in Central America. And taking a look at where it goes from there, the good news for the United States is that this storm has moved closer to land earlier than expected and is now on a path over the Yucatan Peninsula. The longer it stays over land, the more likely it will lose strength. For now, the National Hurricane Center predicting Sara will still be a depression when it reemerges in the Gulf. A possible cold front mid next week will determine if Sara will remain a threat to the state of Florida, but that is still very much possible. And tonight, the Tampa Bay Rays, in need of a temporary home following Hurricane Milton damage to Tropicana Field, now has a deal in place to play their 2025 season at Tampa's Steinbrenner Field. If that sounds familiar, it's because that's the spring training home of their rival, the New York Yankees. Last month, panels of the roof of the Tropicana Field were completely torn off, and it now sits with a price tag of nearly $57 million to repair. Taking a look at your money, wholesale prices are on the rise, meaning the economy is still dealing with sticky inflation. Today, the Labor Department said its producer price index rose 0.2% last month, a bigger increase than the month before. This was mostly because services were more expensive, but prices on goods were also up. Some good news is that mortgage rates have stopped going up. Today, Freddie Mac said the average 30-year mortgage rate fell to 6.78% this week. But housing is still unaffordable for many Americans. A new Oxford economics report finds that as of the third quarter of this year, a household needs to earn over $107,000 to afford a new single-family home while paying property taxes and insurance costs. Most U.S. households don't make that much money. Global health officials now sounding the alarm about the surge of a highly contagious yet preventable disease, measles. According to the CDC and the World Health Organization, global cases of measles surged more than 20% last year. Unfortunately, over 107,000 people died, and most were young children. Health officials point to falling levels of vaccination during and after the COVID-19 pandemic for the increase in cases. The 2-dose vaccine is 97% effective against measles. The CDC has reported at least 266 measles cases in the U.S. so far this year. Advanced Auto Parts is closing about 14% of its stores following a very poor earnings report. The company has now lowered its full-year outlook for the second quarter in a row. More than 700 of the roughly 5,000 stores are expected to be impacted. A full list of exact locations has not yet been revealed, but corporate data shows the revised store footprint won't have any stores open on the West Coast. Ford Motor Company, meantime, being fined $165 million for moving too slowly on a recall and failing to give accurate recall information. The settlement covers a 2020 recall of its rear view camera. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration still investigating how Ford has handled more recent recalls, including a recall in April for gasoline leaks in some SUVs that could lead to engine fires. Ford says they're working with NHTSA to implement the proper processes and to follow the law. A judge has ordered a hearing on today's bankruptcy auction of conspiracy theorist Alex Jones' media empire. The satirical news outlet The Onion won the bidding for InfoWars' parent company, Free Speech Systems. The purchase was backed by families of Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting victims, who Jones now owes over $1 billion for calling that massacre at Sandy Hook a hoax. Jones called the sale a violation of free speech.
This is the tyranny of the New World Order, desperate to silence the American people. The mandate of Trump against all the lawfare, they don't care.
And Jones also raised concerns about the bidding process. A federal judge in Texas then ordered a hearing for next week. And now the very latest on our nearly 4-year Spotlight on America investigation of a popular IUD used by millions of women. New documents show our media inquiry in 2021 helped propel the FDA to investigate a growing number of Paragard IUDs breaking when being removed. Now, as investigative correspondent Angie Moreski tells us, that safety review exposes a stunning gap in information.
Why is this product breaking?
Spotlight on America asked FDA expert Josh Sharlin, who's consulted for FDA-regulated companies for 30 years, to review dozens of pages of these newly obtained documents.
This is one of the broken arms
that reveal never-before-seen details of how the FDA investigated Paragard IUD breakage.
What was your overall reaction after reading these documents?
I really don't understand why FDA is not doing more. What are the design specifications of the device? What testing has there been done to show the amount of force necessary to cause an arm to break off? Nobody knows those numbers.
And you find that shocking?
I find that shocking.
The report also reveals the FDA launched its investigation only after our media inquiry.
It didn't come out intact. One of the T's had snapped off.
When we started reporting on this in 2021, there were more than 3,000 breakage complaints to the FDA's adverse event reporting system. Since then, that number has more than doubled, the majority deemed serious. Even so, the FDA and Cooper Surgical have repeatedly told Spotlight breakage is rare and Paragard is safe. Now, for the first time in these documents, we see FDA safety regulators acknowledge leaving IUD fragments in a woman's uterus has unknown consequences, and device breakage can subject patients to risks and cause anxiety for both patients and healthcare providers. But despite the multiple stories Spotlight did over the past 3.5 years documenting the harm women experienced and our continuing questions, the FDA did not disclose the safety review until this August.
What's the secret? It's a problem. They've identified it. Just let people know so people can be prepared.
Lauren Baker of Vancouver, Washington, is one of the latest patients to contact Spotlight about her experience with Paragard breaking when removed at her doctor's office.
She just looks up at me and goes, "Lauren, oh my God." And then she holds up the broken piece.
Tell me what you're thinking when you see that piece now.
It's got these sort of jagged edges, which first of all is very scary, imagining that jagged piece. I don't know what kind of damage, especially the pain I was having.
The safety review also reveals, despite the spike in breakage complaints, Cooper Surgical claimed there was no significant increase in the number of reports of breakage as a percentage of total reported problems.
If a device is malfunctioning, it needs to be fixed. It's not a numbers game. It's not like it's okay to injure 100 people, but if you injure 101, then you have to do something about it. It doesn't work that way.
While FDA reviewers said a targeted risk analysis would be helpful, the final report shows no request was made and notes the company has implemented no additional controls to address the reported product problems.
In my opinion, they're being lax in not requiring this obviously needed information.
The FDA declined our request for an interview. Spotlight followed up to ask if it is conducting any further reviews or investigations into Paragard breakage. They did not answer that question directly, only saying surveillance continues as it does with all FDA-approved products. Cooper Surgical did not respond to our request for comment. For Spotlight on America, I'm Angie Moreski.
Angie, thank you. Coming up, a beloved NBA coach became one of hundreds of thousands of Americans every year who suffer a stroke. The most important thing to know about this condition when we come back. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering the issues that matter most to you. We're taking the pulse of America, and we begin in Texas, where a beloved basketball coach is recovering from a health setback.
It's a difficult time for everyone.
It's news that's rocked not only the Spurs and Spurs fans, but the entire sports world. During a somber news conference late Wednesday, Spurs GM Brian Wright confirmed Pop suffered what the team is calling a mild stroke November 2nd. The Spurs say Pop was at the Frost Bank Center when he suffered his stroke, with arena medical staff able to provide care quickly.
We know that's a precious part of outcomes.
Getting to medical care is extremely important to do as soon as possible because all of the treatments that we perform for stroke are time dependent.
The team says Popovich has already begun a rehab program.
He's doing well. He's doing well.
And they expect him to make a full recovery.
Sophia Park of Tulare County made history by becoming the youngest person to pass the California bar exam at 17 years old and 8 months. And you won't guess whose previous record she beat, her older brother Peter. Last year, he was the first one to pass a bar exam in the family at 17 years old and 11 months. Sophia began law school at the age of 13 while attending Oxford Academy in Cypress, California. In 2022, she graduated high school after passing the California High School Proficiency Exam. This year, she completed her law degree at Northwestern California University School of Law.
While Thanksgiving is a joyful moment to celebrate with family and friends, it can also be stressful on the wallet. Food insecurity throughout the United States impacts millions. In 2023, 18 million households were food insecure at some point. That's why Tops Friendly Markets has a plan.
And this year we're offering them an amazing promotion that we've never run before. As shoppers come into our store and shop now through Saturday night, and they spend $100 in one shopping order of groceries, they're going to earn a $10 coupon.
After using that $10 coupon to get yourself your free turkey, this all comes down to $21.80.
And coming up, what happened when a couple in Australia came home to find an unexpected guest in their bedroom? We're back in 90 seconds. Koalas are normally found in eucalyptus trees, but one couple in Australia came home to find one in their bedroom. The couple was at a loss for words and unsure of what to do. The koala eventually left after the homeowner used a sweater to try it and guide it back outside. Koalas are commonly seen in Australia, even roaming the streets. This one, the couple believes, likely got in through the home's pet entry door. And while koalas are cute looking, they can be dangerous if they feel threatened. So the couple is very thankful no one was hurt. That does it for this edition of the National News Desk. I'm Amira David. Thank you so much for watching.